And welcome on in, ladies and gentlemen, episode 13 here of TECSpertZ. Your host right here, Markayla, Anthony, Max, and Brennan, giving you everything you need to know about East Carolina sports. Let's get right on into it. First off, TECSpertZ is sponsored by the Big Vape Theory and East Carolina University's Office of Undergraduate Research. And also keep in mind that TECSpertZ is a collaboration between WZMB and the East Carolinian. So without further ado, let's talk about East Carolina football here. We have our bowl game opponent, December 27th. It's going to take place in Annapolis, Maryland at 3:30, I believe, on ESPN.
2:30.
2:30, thank you very much. And it's going to be against Boston College. I'll go around the table here. What do we think of this so far?
Man, Boston College, I mean, they're a 6-6 football team. They're from the ACC, kind of the middle of the pack. They've played a few teams that we've played, really mainly Temple. They put up 28-3 against them. We coming out with the victory. Other than that, they haven't really played anybody else that we've played. They played a lot of their own conference teams and have done so-so in the conference. They went 2-6 in the conference, 6-6 over the year. I don't know what really to expect out of Boston College. I haven't seen them play a whole lot. We've been watching kind of ECU in our own conference. So I think ECU is coming in there kind of the same mentality of a little bit, we could get a great football team or kind of a mediocre team that we're playing up against, but ECU should be able to come out with a victory in this one.
Yeah, I completely agree. This is a game that ECU can very well win.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's not a game where we're looking at a Goliath here and we're going to have to be the big underdog. I would almost say we're coming in as the favorite into this game with our explosive offense. Keaton Mitchell, the way he's been pounding the ball this year. I'm looking at it. It looks like Boston College did very good at the beginning of the season, starting out 4-0, something like that, and then struggling later down the stretch against teams like Clemson, NC State, Louisville, Syracuse. Came up big late in the season against Virginia Tech, but they struggled a little bit later on the season, started off very strong, and then were struggling to even pick up those 6 wins. So ECU coming off a big year with 3-game win streak and a 4-game win streak. Yeah, we're coming off a loss to Cincinnati, but I still think we're carrying that momentum into this game more so than Boston College.
I agree. I think we have the upper hand in this, just looking at record-wise, conference-wise. The only people you can compare them to is Temple. We both allowed 3 points by Temple. Both came out with wins with that. But they did play some heavy hitters like State, Wake Forest, and they lost to them, but they played them, so we can't really measure ourselves with their schedule to our schedule. But looks like Ehlers is leading in yardage compared to their quarterback, so is our running backs compared to their running backs. So we're just going to see how it goes. We've never played them before in the history of ECU football, so I think we can come out with the win.
How about that?
It's going to be a game.
That's an interesting stat. Never played this team before in the history of East Carolina sports, in football-wise. Mm-hmm. That's very interesting there. So this is going to be taking place in Annapolis, Maryland. Not too far, right down the road. Could make the drive here. All the Pirates fans working their way up to Maryland. Should be a good, evenly matched game is what we're looking for here. Also, some side news. Holton Ahlers announcing that he'll be here for a 5th year. He's going to be here next year, so something to keep in mind. And Coach Houston, under contract, got a contract extension, I think, through the 2026 season, if I'm not mistaken. So he's going to be staying for a little bit longer, and that's good. That's good news. After, a very good year here with this ECU football team. You could just kind of tell the town, the fans, the players all seem to be pretty ecstatic, and going into this bowl game, pretty looking forward to it.
Even with us, we were skeptical about Ehlers at the beginning of the season, even Houston, different plays, but I think they've proven themselves. Going to a bowl game, had a pretty good season, so taking a few more years to see how it goes.
Yeah, I think you can see the growth under Coach Houston and what he's done here, and even under Holton Ahlers, because you can see the growth in him. Mm-hmm. And I think going into his 5th year, we're going to see the best out of Holton that we've seen so far. And probably the same for Coach Houston. I expect continuous growth because that's what we've seen so far. Even though it's been a struggle at the beginning, it was kind of just, both for Holton and I think Coach Houston is just kind of getting used to the environment of ECU and the way that ECU plays football and in the way that the conference plays football as well.
Absolutely. I think this year has been kind of a breath of fresh air for ECU football. I mean, we've seen growth not only from Coach Houston, but also Holton Ahlers, as we've been talking about. The running game, Keaton Mitchell really stepped up this year, as we were expecting Rajay Harris to really take that leader role, but Keaton kind of got into the forefront and really powered through with over 1,000 yards this year. Play calling has been much better this year, and at the end of the day, it's all about collecting those wins, collecting a 7-win season, looking forward to the future with a young team. Coach Houston's really building a culture here. Mm-hmm. It's hard to build out within the first couple of years, but Mike Houston, now he has his tenure here. He's got the guys he wants. He's got the right man running the ship. So I'm excited to see what next year is. I really was happily surprised with our performance this year, But next year is what I'm going to be looking forward to, and it's going to be a tough one with State being our first test of the year over here at Dowdy-Ficklin Stadium. So it's big stuff moving forward. I think it's a lot of good stuff with a really young defense. Holton Ayler's fifth year back, really wanting to increase his draft stock. He's going to be doing a lot of great things, and I think this is the right move for ECU football moving forward.
Yeah, Houston has repeatedly said he's trying to turn this program around, get it back to how we were a few years ago, and I think that they've obviously done that this year, but now instead of trying to prove ourselves next year, we just got to stay consistent and grow. So I think we can only go up from here, hopefully.
Yeah, definitely a step in the right direction.
Yeah,
and the momentum's on our side, too. I think this season proved to kind of be more of a make or break year as far as looking forward for ECU football and for Coach Houston and for Holton Aylers, because if you look at the way we were thinking about this season to begin with, we weren't expecting to come out with as many wins as we did. And I think coming out with this kind of season, the 3-game win streak and then the 4-game win streak, and now we're going on to a bowl game, I think that kind of boosts kind of the morale for this ECU football team underneath Coach Houston. I think it gives his resume kind of a little boost going into the next year.
We were definitely thinking about just a 5-win season here not too long ago, and now all of a sudden we have
7 wins in a bowl game.
7 wins in a bowl game, and by the way, there are a few games in there that could have make or break, and couldn't have the dominoes maybe fall in our direction. We might be looking at an 8-9 win football team here.
So the main question is, what does a bowl win here do for this ECU program moving forward? I mean, I think that's going to bring a lot of confidence into the next season. A lot of guys will have a chip on their shoulder, not want to be dethroned, but of course, first you got to go out and you got to win it.
Right.
So this Boston College team, had a mediocre season. I believe 6-6 on the year. Struggled late in the season, but played very well early.
Yeah.
But historically, Boston College has produced some very good prospects. Obviously Luke Kuechly, obviously Matt Ryan coming out of there. So it's a pretty good program throughout the years. And so I'm expecting nothing less than a good football team. I'm not expecting this to be a walkover game, but I am expecting a little bit of a dogfight, hopefully not too much. If we can keep what we're doing, use the run game to spread out the pass to open up the run, I really don't see a way ECU loses here.
And 6-6 in a pretty tough conference there.
Exactly.
So,
True.
Also keep that in mind here as well.
I agree that we need to go in, need to win, but we also don't need to get too excited that we're going to a bowl game against someone we have a better record than, because, like you said, they played some heavy hitters in their conference. So I think you need to stay calm. I know penalties have been a struggle for us this season, so stay calm, just play smart, and we can win this.
Yeah, I think overall, the way that the way they go about this game, this team, I think they need to look at this game as kind of the bow on top. Kind of just, let's go in there, get the job done. We had a great season. Now let's wrap it up with a win. Because, we lost to Cincinnati, but we weren't really going into that game expecting to finish out our season with a win against Cincinnati.
It wasn't our last game.
Which is why the game before we were talking about, hey, let's play this like it's our last game, and they did just that. So now we have an opportunity to go finish off with another win instead of coming off with off of a loss to end the season.
And I think that this young defense, too, let's keep in mind that obviously Coach Houston's going to want them to be playing the great. They've been playing great all year. I mean, we obviously know that. We've seen it firsthand. But I'm sure his message to them is just keep doing their thing on the defensive side of the ball, let them work, and see what this Boston College team is all about. And as far as the offense, we've had a pretty firepower offense this year when you really look at it. I mean, Holton playing really, really well. The 2 running backs, just running the rock, just crazy. I mean, just running down their throats, and even the receiving core that we got going on, too, has been mightily pretty strong for us as well. So I think the message, just go in there, show them what you got, and definitely would bring a lot of confidence to the team, the program, the school as a whole, if they do, in fact, win this ball game. Now the question to you guys is this. Do we have a little prediction time here as far as this bowl game? I mean, are we ready to make that call? Are we ready to make that move? I mean, do you have a sense of going into this? What are we thinking about that?
I mean, I think it's a little bit difficult. Just kind of, again, it's a team from a completely different conference that we never see coming into, going to Maryland in a place that we don't usually play at. It's going to be hard to kind of gauge what the ECU offense is going to be able to do, and even what the Boston College offense is going to be able to do against this ECU defense that we talk about as being so strong. I think ECU is going to, once again go into this game looking to win it, to end this season with 8 wins on the year. And I think the ECU is probably going to put up around 35 points. I'm going to say 35 to, let's go 24. 35-24. It'll be a decent game. I definitely don't think we'll go in there and roll over them. But, let's go 35.
There's definitely going to be points on the board.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
I'm going to say 31-23 ECU in favor. I think that Our offense has only improved. They're going to keep improving. We're not going to run over them at all. They're not going to run over us, definitely. But they've also had games where they've scored 0 points to 3 points. So I think our defense can definitely stop them. But like I said, we're kind of even, so we're not going to take them over fully.
I'm going to go, once again, 35. I'm going to go ECU to win 35-14. Looking at the scores, I think it's going to be a little bit more of a deficit. I think ECU's defense is really going to come out. They've been swarming around the ball, running around the field, being able to undercut routes very well throughout the season. Looking at Boston College throughout the season, I've noticed that they've either gone with a good score, they've either gotten very high scoring, or they've struggled to score the ball at all. Really difficult to get in the 20s if they're not scoring in the 40s or the 50s.
Right.
So I think this is going to be ECU's defense is going to be a defense that they're not used to seeing, really swarming around the ball, playing really well, especially for such a young team. So I'm going to go 35-14, but the key to this is they have to play like any other game. This is not a bowl game. This is just the same game you've been playing in your backyard as a kid. So if the defense especially can take that mentality into the game, I foresee this being a 35-14 game.
Wow, okay, very good. I got 28-10. I think also a little bit of a deficit there, and I think that the fans here are going to travel well to Maryland and show up. Let's not forget the last time when we played in Annapolis, we know what happened. Mm-hmm. Mr. Owen Daffer hit that big-time field goal that sent us home happy. So I think there's a little life, juice, and energy to playing in there, and the players know that.
Yeah.
I think that we got an ECU win there, finish off the season with 8 wins. So how about that? I'm going to send it over to Brennan, who's got some news, maybe?
Yes, sir.
With some basketball stuff.
So let's talk about some men's basketball. We're improving to 7-2 on the season. It's looking pretty good for this new kind of roster that we have with all these new additions, new players. We just came off of a 63-62 close dub against Old Dominion on Tuesday. And we are facing Gardner-Webb on Saturday. We came off of a close victory against Gardner-Webb on Saturday,
Yes, we did.
which was 62-52. And now we will be facing North Carolina A&T on Tuesday at home once again. I think this team has promise. It's nice to see this ECU team winning, but it's also hard to judge because last season it kind of went a similar way where our team went 8-1 to start the season and completely flipped it and then went 1-8 to end the season. So it's kind of an up and down, kind of in the air. But we'll see how it goes for this ECU basketball team.
They just need to stay consistent and
keep
pushing forward and keep pressing on the gas pedal.
Just one game at a time. Keep your head down. Just do what Coach needs you to do. And we should be able to come out of here with more wins than we do losses.
There's a good chance we could go into conference play 10-2 with the next 3 games. So I think if we can do that, then we have a good rest of the season looking out for us.
Excellent.
I will say I am very impressed with what ECU was able to do in close games. Able to come out of there with those close victories as opposed to looking back wondering what could have been. So even if you're winning by 1 point, 2 points, it doesn't matter as long as it's a dub in the column. So I'm very impressed with this ECU men's basketball team, especially with the new roster that we have, of course, losing Jane Gardner. You know, now we got our new scorers and able to win those close games with a couple buzzer beaters and stuff like that.
No doubt, 100%.
Still undefeated at home, and then women's also had 2 games this week, but they both lost against VCU 48-65, and then Saturday was their first home loss, 51-66 to Towson. So they have a few more. They have 4 games until they have conference play, so they can still turn their season around too. They're going to play North Carolina Central tonight, right now actually, and then A&T is going to be next Thursday, so you can look out for those. But I think they have a good chance too. I think they're still adjusting. They had 7 new women come on this season, so they're still figuring it out. But it hasn't been bad. They've had some close wins. They've had some close losses. So I think there's a good chance for them this season as well.
It's very fresh for both basketball teams right now. Just a lot of changeover. Last year, like you said, we lost Jaden Gardner, and on top of that, just losing about 4 or 5 seniors on each team just kind of took its toll, and a lot of recruits had to be called in. But it's been looking good for both teams. You know, 6-0 at home for the men's team, and how many wins do they have on the women's team? Because I know they only have 1 loss.
They're 4-5, so I guess one of them was only at home. Only 1 loss at home.
Yeah, so both teams, defending home court pretty strongly, and it's looking pretty good for the ECU basketball after it just looked great for ECU football. So
I agree.
Hopefully, just a step in the right direction here.
The new roster.
Keep the stones
Keep it going.
That's right.
Keep it going into baseball.
Exactly. Got to love that. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I believe that does it here of TECSpertZ. I want to remind you that TECSpertZ is sponsored by the Big Vape Theory and East Carolina University's Office of Undergraduate Research. And TECSpertZ is a collaboration between WZMB and the East Carolinian. That wraps up episode 13. You will see us for episode 14, January 19th. You can expect the next episode. We'll be all on break here for the holidays. everybody here wishing you a very happy holidays. Enjoy time with your loved ones. And during this Christmas break, enough of school and finals and all that good stuff. And we'll see you next year. So signing off here, Markayla, Anthony, Max, and Brennan. We'll see you next year. Happy holidays, everybody.
Happy
Take care.
Holidays.